10. Another ripple of shots crackled through the trees. "I've had it," snarled Knight. He snapped the boom mic down on his helmet. "Cease firing, you idiots!" he shouted into the communicator. "You're shooting at us. The only thing dangerous in this forest is you. Cease fire!" "Bull," came the answer over the headset, along with the continued popping of the Merc slug pistols. "They're a bunch of bastards all around us," continued the speaker. "We got one, and the others tried to attack us. They're clever little devils, but we chased them off. I think I winged a couple." "They're not dangerous," said Holland into her own mic. "They're friendly. Now you've scared them away. They were only trying to be friendly." "Says you. They tried to attack us. What's the matter? You going soft? What's your boss going to say when he hears that kind of talk?" They all recognized the voice of Collis Brank, one of the mech pilots. He would be sure to let everyone know that the Dest members were getting soft. Holland flushed at the thought. Her fingers closed tight on the hand grip of her laser rifle. "We can be as hard as you like," said Knight into his mic. "If you want a demonstration of our abilities, we could always stalk you right now. If you really want to know how good we are, just take a couple of more shots. We can deal with that." There was a momentary silence while the threat sank in. Even the mercenaries had some brains. They knew enough to understand that they were raw meat against highly trained soldiers in the woods. "Oh, get off your high-mighty talk. We promise not to scare you guys anymore." There was soft laughter from within the shrouding foliage, then silence. A little later they heard the Mercs moving off through the underbrush. Knight and Holland did what they could for the wounded alien. All Dest team members carried a personal medical pouch that contained a pain suppressant, bandages, clotting agent, and a kit that could seal puncture wounds and slashes up to 50 millimeters across. They applied the bandage to the graze on Dakota's back, but they didn't use either the pain suppressant or the clotting agent. His blood was a clear yellow, and they were afraid of causing an unfortunate reaction. While the two team members were working on the Tatate, he closed his eyes and remained still. Holland took the opportunity to examine him more closely. The downy hair that covered most of his body was rich and softly iridescent. The colors changed as she watched, undertones of green and purple flowing beneath the down of the hair as though the roots were changing color rather than the strand itself. The color did not seem to be controlled by the light in the forest or how she moved. Instead, it fluctuated based on the movement of her hands as well as what Knight did to the bandages. She was careful not to press too hard, and once, when Dakota seemed to wince at her pressure, she was quick to back off. As the ministrations continued, Holland was aware that Horg had crept closer to the three. He was silent and alert, his infrared scanner trained on the woods around the patrol. "I think we should take them out," he said when close enough for his whispering to be heard. "That might be an overreaction," said Knight, intent on his bandaging. "There is no death penalty for being slightly stupid." "Dakota is my friend," said Horg in a tone so matter-of-fact that the meaning was crystal clear. Knight saw a vendetta coming and moved to avert it. "They are mercenaries. They had no business shooting, but they didn't know any better. They were only doing what they do naturally. You can't really blame them for their actions. They are not thinking people when they are in the woods. They would do much better if they were in their machines. It will be all right, Horg." It was the best he could think of at the time. "He is my friend." Loyalty had been Horg's byword since he had first had a philosophy of life. That sense of loyalty had only been reinforced during his training with the Draconis Elite Strike Team. Desk training stressed loyalty to the section and to the team, and from there to the Draconis Combine as well. There was no greater trait than loyalty to one's comrades. It meant that they could count on you, and you on them. When you ran into trouble, your desk comrades would be there to get you out. They would sacrifice themselves for you, and you would do the same for them. That was how it worked. Dakota had joined the section because Horg had talked to him. Now Dakota was wounded, and Horg felt responsible. There was a debt to pay. Knight saw what that debt would mean. Dakota staggered to his feet. He swayed slightly, his ovoid body hung lower between the leg joints. He steadied himself, his hand on Holland's shoulder. She felt the warmth of his hand come through her battle vest. Knight looked into the alien's eyes. "We'd better get going," he said. "Night's coming on, and I want to get back before it's so dark that someone could make a mistake. There's no telling what the others have said about what happened, and how dangerous these people are. I wouldn't want to be mistaken for a hostile alien presence in the gloom." It was slower going. The forest lost the light long before the grassy places. Now that Dakota was injured, he was no longer able to move as fast. Knight led, moving cautiously. The sun was almost at the level of the far trees when the patrol broke the cover of the forest. In all this time, Dakota had said not a word, obviously concentrating on staying awake and mobile. He was staggering severely by the time they reached the grass. The camp was in an uproar as they approached. The mercenaries and the ship crew members were gathered around the open personnel door of the dropship, and Knight could hear their loud talk and laughter. The desk members were completely hidden in their fighting positions, and he knew they had been spotted by someone. He heard the soft click of warning from the mastoid speaker inside his helmet. He also heard the "all clear" as they were recognized. No one rose from a fighting position to welcome them, and they moved directly toward where the command had been constructed. Shosa Takuda came to meet them. Takuda saw the bandages on the alien's back as the group approached. He issued a sharp order, which brought Saitan Yura hurrying forward with the team medical kit. The Tatate, meanwhile, had collapsed between the two groups. Yura dropped to his knees, quickly ripping off the bandages that Knight had applied so he could get a look at the wound. "The wound," he said to no one in particular. "Not one of us." He glanced toward the cluster of rowdy mercenaries. "Stray bullet," said Knight. He looked directly at Horg. "It wasn't intentional." The leader continued with his report of the patrol. Takuda listened carefully, and then turned to Horg. "You did not shoot." It was both a statement and a question. The Shosa looked at his soldier and awaited an answer. "It didn't seem right," said Horg. The Go-Cho stood looking into the eyes of his commander. "He was not going to hurt me or run away. It wasn't right." "You did well, Go-Cho Swollen Hawk. You did well. You were to make contact with the aliens if it were possible, and killing one of them would have done little except provide us with a specimen to examine. Now we have a real live one. You did well." "I don't know what to do for this one," interrupted Yura. "I've tried the clotting agent on a bit of the wound, but it doesn't seem to work. I think we're going to lose him." In the falling light, Holland could see the iridescence had gone from beneath the down-like hair. The brown color had lost its sheen as well, and had taken on an ashen hue. Looking down at the curiously shrunken shape, she felt a slight choking in her throat, and a feeling of rage that must have been how Horg had felt. Perhaps he was right. The mercs needed to be taught a lesson. Vost and Brank would be good candidates. She looked beyond her command group at the celebrating mercenaries. "Give him a shot from this," said Takuda. He opened the medipack on his thigh, took out the 12 stimulant syringes, and handed them to Yura. "We have more of them if necessary. Give him one, and if he doesn't respond, give him another. Keep doing it until they're gone, or he's awake." You can't do that, sir, protested Busto. Use of medical emergency equipment on non-combined personnel is prohibited. The 5 other desk members who were clustered around the fallen Tatate looked at Busto. What he said was absolutely correct, but his words suddenly brought home the truth of their situation. They would never again have to answer to anyone at military headquarters. I will deal with it at the appropriate time, said Takuda. But you are quite correct to raise the question. Gunso Busto, quite correct. Takuda nodded to Yura. Proceed. Busto was ready to give in. The medicine is designed for human use only, he continued. If we give it to this thing, there will be none for us. It will be a terrible waste. Yura broke open the packet of syringes and jabbed one directly into the wound. There was no response from the unconscious figure. He applied another. Still no response. Another syringe was drained, and then another. It was only after Yura had forced a 7th one into the alien's prone body that the creature showed a slight quivering. A wave of iridescence swept outward from the point of the needle's insertion. On the 8th application, the alien opened his eyes. "Eode," he muttered. Holland bent close to the beak to listen to what he said. "Tell us what to do," she implored. "What should we do?" Dakota murmured something. "The purple." Holland looked up at the others gathered around. "It has to do with the purple." Horg rummaged through his pack until he found the foul-smelling plant he'd been given at the swamp. "What do I do?" he asked. "Break it open, Horg," said Holland. "Break it open and rub it on the wound." Horg followed her instructions. The odor from the fruit nearly made him gag, and the others in the group turned away at the stench, but he persisted. An evil gray juice dripped from the putrid flesh of the innards, oozing down into the wound. The reaction was almost immediate. The fluid flowed along the crease left by the pistol slug. As it did, the wound changed color from the rawness of exposed flesh to a creamy, semi-liquid state. "Da," Dakota said. "Da, da." The feeling of relief among them was palpable. Horg was especially glad. The alien would live, and he was happy for the first time since the friendly fire incident in the woods. He even smiled as Kendall Pesht made his way toward the command group. The mercenary pilot looked down at the recumbent Tatate. "You got one too," he said. "And not bad. You should try one. Tastes a bit like chicken." He turned away from the desk team and moved back toward his own. Later that night, Horg sat contemplating the unfamiliar stars. Gunso Ariake Sane sat beside him. Horg often went to her with his problems, and now he confided his feelings about the mercenaries. The two sat in silence. Finally, Sane turned to her friend, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "Perhaps you're right, Swollen Hog. You do have cause enough for a vendetta. You have cause, but be careful. The time is not yet."